Good morning, students. I welcome class 9 children to this learning session of geography. So the chapter which I am going to take today is Latitudes and Longitudes. As an introduction for this chapter, let us start with the shape of the earth, which you have studied in the previous years. You have studied in the previous years that the shape of the earth is round, or the earth is spherical in shape. So here in this chapter, in the introduction part, an exact word is used to explain the real shape of the earth, that is geode. So geode means the oblate spheroid shape of the earth is known as geode. The oblate spheroid shape of the earth means the earth is flattened at the equatorial region and bulging at the polar region. That is known as geode. So if I am asking you what is geode, the answer should be the oblate spheroid shape of the earth is known as geode. That means the earth is bulging at the equatorial region and flattened at the polar region. So to make you understand in an easy way, I can just tell you that if you are taking a ball in your hand and suppose you are pressing it from the top and bottom, you can see that it is very slightly flattened at its top and bottom, and it is coming outward, or we can say it is bulging in both sides. That is the exact shape of the earth which is used as geode. So geode is the means the oblate spheroid shape of the earth. Now let us just see which are the four hemispheres of the earth. Here we can see the equator. The equator is an imaginary line that divides the earth into two equal parts. That is, here it is one half falls in the northern hemisphere and another half is in the southern hemisphere. So we can say that the equator divides the earth into two hemispheres, that is the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. And also you have studied about the prime meridian, which is the starting point of the longitudes. And this prime meridian divides the earth into eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. Thus we can say that the earth is divided into four hemispheres, that is northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. After that, let us see what is the grid of the earth, or earth's grid. Grid. You have seen the globe as well as you have seen the map. So we have observed that the number of latitudes and longitudes are passing through it. This network of latitudes and longitudes that are passing through the map and globe, we can call it as Earth's grid or grid system of the Earth. I just say the definition of grid: the network of latitudes and longitudes, or the meridians or parallels that is passing through the globe and map is known as grid. Now I think it is clear to you what is grid, and now let us start the next topic, that is latitudes. Latitudes. So what is latitude? Let us just see the definition of latitudes. Latitude is the angular distance of a place north or south of the equator. Or we can say the definition of latitudes like this: the latitude of a place is the angular distance of a place north or south of the equator as measured from the center. And let's see now the characteristics of latitudes. Among these latitudes, equator is the largest latitude, which is of 0 degree, and we can call it also the great circle, because among all these latitudes, equator is the largest one. And the number of latitudes that can be drawn here on the globe is here in the northern hemisphere we can make a 90 latitudes here, and also in the southern hemisphere we can make a 90 lines of latitudes with 1 degree interval. So the total number of latitudes are 180. These are the this is the total number of latitudes that can be drawn on the globe. That I just repeated. Here with 1 degree interval in the northern hemisphere we can make a 90 lines of latitudes, and also in the southern hemisphere we can make a 90 lines of latitudes. Altogether the number of latitudes are 180. So this distance between each degree is approximately 111 kilometer, and we know that from the equatorial to polar region, this length and radius of these latitudes are going on decreasing, and when reaching at the North Pole and South Pole, these are only points. So we can say this equator, which is an imaginary line that is passing through the center of the earth, is the largest latitude among all this. This is the largest latitude, and going from here to here, equatorial to polar region, its length and radius goes on decreasing. Then we will see now. Let us just see the important lines of latitudes. Here we can, it is starting is equator, which is of 0 degree, and we will see which are the 5 important lines of latitudes. The first one is equator. After that, in the northern hemisphere, it is Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer, it is 23.5 degree north. Half degree north. And in the southern hemisphere, it is Tropic of Capricorn. 23.5 degree south. And after that, Arctic Circle. Another important lines of latitude is Arctic Circle. It is 66.5 degree north. And here Antarctic Circle, 66.5 degree south. These are the important lines of latitudes. I repeat it, starting with the equator, which is of 0 degree, and other important lines of latitudes are Tropic of Cancer, which is of 23.5 degree north, and in the same way in the southern hemisphere, Tropic of Capricorn, which is 23.5 degree south, and in the northern hemisphere it is Arctic Circle, 66.5 degree north, and it is in the southern hemisphere Antarctic Circle, that is a 66.5 degree south. So these are the important lines of latitudes. So to conclude this learning session, I just repeat from the beginning. We have started with the shape of the earth. So we have seen that the shape of the earth is geode. Geode means the oblate spheroid shape of the earth is known as geode. That means the earth is flattened at the poles and bulging at the equatorial region. After that, 4 different hemispheres of the earth. The equator is dividing the earth into 2 hemispheres, that is northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, and the prime meridian, which is the starting point of longitudes, is dividing the earth into eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. After that, we have seen what is grid, the imaginary lines that passes through the globe, or we can say the network of latitudes and longitudes, or the network of parallels and meridians that passes through the globe or map. We can call it as a grid system or grid of the earth. This grid system enables us to locate any point or any place on the earth's surface. Then about latitudes. The definition of latitudes is latitude is an angular distance of a place north or south as measured from the center of the earth. So we will continue this in the next session. We will start with the longitude. Thank you.